94-79 was the final score, and it felt every bit of it. I thought Alabama's size was the difference in this game, Adam. They were credited with 5 blocks. It felt like every shot was challenged. Every shot was difficult. Every drive into the lane was met with resistance, either at the rim or to the point where the player for Carolina had to circle back out and restart because there wasn't anything there. If you just look at the straight stats, and we talked about this on the Rapid Reactions podcast, I mean, Carolina out-rebounded Alabama. Carolina had more points off turnovers, shot more free throws, scored more points in the paint, had more second-chance points, had more fast-break points, had more bench points, and lost the game by 15 for 3 reasons, in my opinion. One is that Alabama size that made everything really just hard for Carolina. 2 was Alabama's three-point shooting versus Carolina's three-point shooting. Alabama made 12 threes in this game. Carolina made 5. And then the turnovers, 13 isn't an enormous number for Carolina, but 7 of those came early, in which Alabama built a lead. And secondarily, in this game, it was hard to have a possession that you didn't have a chance to score and expect to stay in it. I thought those 3 things were huge. You could probably throw in Carolina's defense too, which, Adam, it's an issue. Alabama shot 49%, scored 94 points. I don't know the number off the top of my head, but in the last 4 games, Carolina's given up, on average, more than 90 points a game. More than 90 points a game. And I'm going to guess, again, I don't know this number for sure, the shooting percentage for the opposing team is probably in the high 40s. It's probably not quite to 50%, but I'm going to guess it's probably around 46, 47. That's just a guess. And all those things added up to a pretty comfortable Alabama win. It's the 4th straight game that Carolina's trailed by double figures in the first half. Carolina's 4-4. The Tar Heels have played some really good competition, which has aided to this record that is the poorest 8-game record for Carolina since the 8-20 season of 2002. I don't think this team is an 8-20 team by any stretch. But the Tar Heels got to figure something out, because right now they're struggling. This has been, again, a very difficult stretch of the schedule. But also, I don't think the Tar Heels have looked very good. So I think both those things are accurate. And this was another chapter to that.
Carolina's given up at least 85 points in 4 straight games. That's also the first time since 2002. The defense is just not good enough, part of which is because you are playing very good teams, but part of which is also because it needs to get better. And we spent a lot of time with Hubert Davis lately. I can't remember if he said this on the air or off the air. It is possible for that to improve.
Oh, yeah.
As happened last year, when Carolina just kind of seemed to wake up the morning of the Oklahoma game and decide that now they were going to play defense. You have some pieces that could be good defensively. Drake Powell can be very good defensively. I think Ian Jackson has the physical profile of a good defender and the career profile of someone who's never been asked to play defense. But if you teach him, that's 2 pieces right there that are capable of creating some havoc. We know Seth Trimble has been good. Elliot Cadeau and RJ Davis have been good at times, but also have some limitations. But this team has the ability to be better defensively. And to me, that's step 1. I think it's concerning that RJ Davis took 24 shots and only made 7. 1 of 11 from 3, which makes him 1 for 20 from 3 against Alabama in the last 2 meetings. Part of that is because Alabama has size to put on him and make it difficult. But if he was sitting here, he would say he expects to make some of those shots no matter who's guarding him.
Yep. I mean, they did. Jaron Stevenson, who's 6'11", guarded him. Darion Reed, who I think is 6'8", guarded him. I mean, it was a very clear plan for Alabama.
And Alabama has a very clear plan against the Tar Heels that has worked the last couple times, 3 times. The Tar Heels have got to get Elliot Cadeau on track. But it's not just him. 2 different times just in the first half, different Tar Heel players went palms up on a teammate. That should never happen. As we know, you never go palms up on a teammate.
Never go palms up on a teammate.
Especially not in the first half at home where you're in front of your people and there's not a lot of adversity. That's just simple communication and not knowing your teammates and not understanding what everyone's doing. There were multiple times where the Tar Heels just threw the ball away because somebody went one direction and they threw the ball the other way. They just don't look very together at the moment. And it felt like that in the arena. There were maybe 2 times where it felt like the crowd might get into the game, one in the first half and one in the second half. The second half one, Drake Powell makes a really athletic layup, great play, cuts it under double digits for the first time all half. And what's going on at the other end? Oh, that's okay. Grant Nelson's just hanging out by the rim because he never bothered to run back on defense. So Alabama just chucks it down the court to him. He dunks it. Tar Heels never get it under 10 again. There was never a chance for the crowd to get into the game.
Yeah,
I think
it really wasn't.
It might have been a good crowd. We'll never know. They never had a chance. Carolina trailed by double figures for 23 minutes and 29 seconds out of 40.
Yeah, to me, that's the concerning thing, Adam, is not that Carolina's lost these games, although I think the Michigan State game was one that was gettable for sure. I mean, I think Auburn and Alabama are better than Carolina right now. It's that these games were pretty wide margins for a majority of the game. Adam, I don't know this answer. I'm just restating something we know. Carolina's front court is just not impactful enough right now, and that's putting so much pressure on those guards that when they have a bad night, when they don't shoot well, when the other team does a good job against them, it's like that's it. And that's a hard way to live on the basketball court. And again, we knew those limitations for the Tar Heels coming into this year. And please, I mean, there's plenty of things to be frustrated with. Acting like Carolina was unaware that it needed some help in the front court and didn't try to get some is not a realistic complaint. You can complain that it didn't happen, but you can't complain that they didn't try. And so it's just a hard way. It's a hard way to live. It is a hard way to live on the court when you have to have your 3 guards who are all undersized be effective. Can those guys be? Absolutely. We've seen it. They've had some terrific moments this year and through their careers. But that's a hard way to consistently do it.
Well, if you had told us on the Tuesday show, Elliot Cadeau is going to go 0 for 4 with 4 turnovers. RJ is going to go 7 for 24 and 1 for 11. Seth Trimble is going to go 4 for 13 and be minus 19. I would have said the Tar Heels might lose by 30.
Yeah.
Thank goodness Ian Jackson came to the game. Thank goodness Ty Claude came to the game.
Yeah.
Ty Claude. Enjoyed watching him play. A lot of energy there. Ian Jackson looked as good as he's looked any time in a game for the Tar Heels. 10 for 17 from the field, 3 for 5 from 3. Looked very athletic, looked confident going to the rim. Now, again, you got to remember, freshman progress is not a straight line.
Yep.
Drake Powell looked really good against Michigan State and then was not as impactful against Alabama. That is what freshmen do.
Yep.
They look great, and then they have a hard day in class or something, or like their girlfriend's mad at them, and they don't play as well. It's just what freshmen do. But I do think you've seen signs with those two. What do we think about the increased defensive pressure, maybe a little extending more full court? Tar Heels did that a few times, sometimes with success, sometimes not.
Yeah, I think with this group, you're going to have to take some risks defensively. So until you get better defensively in the half court, I think I'd rather give up 2 points quickly and get the ball back than give up 2 points slowly. I think until you improve defensively, take some risks, try to get some easy baskets, put some pressure on. I think it's a sound strategy with the current state of where Carolina is.
I agree with that, and I also think one of the problems is Carolina's not very good at it yet because they haven't done it a ton. There was a play in the second half where Carolina had Mark Sears over in the corner kind of by you, and it was Powell and Jackson who were coming for the trap. Carolina was trapping. And your first thought is, oh, these are two perfect guys to be trapping. But they never got all the way there, and Mark Sears, a wise veteran, just went right through the middle of them, and Alabama went down and shot a layup. In a month, I think that trap is probably a little more shoulder to shoulder, and maybe he can't get out or has to call a timeout or turns the ball over or any number of positive Tar Heel things. But on Wednesday night, Carolina hasn't quite made the progress to make that play, so it'll be interesting to see. Do you want to spend time trying to get better at that when that's not your bread and butter? But that might be the profile of this team. You're not going to do that all 40 minutes. Nolan Richardson isn't walking through that door. But is that a suitable alternate plan on occasion just to give a different look and give a team some pause? What was really confusing is the first couple possessions of the game, Carolina looked really good on defense.
Yes, very active, very into it.
Alabama had trouble even getting a shot. But then that went away.
It did. Carolina struggled to score in that time period too, and I do wonder if at some point when you're not seeing the returns, it's harder to keep that effort or energy level up.
Well, and people want to complain about the shooting. Carolina shot 32 of 78. Let's take out the three-point shooting, which was bad. A lot of these shots Carolina's missing that are two-point shots, if you go back and look at them, there's a 6'10 guy standing there between Carolina's guy shooting and the basket. And unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, 41 of Carolina's 78 shots were taken by Trimble, Davis, and Cadeau. They have trouble seeing over a 6'10 guy, no matter how athletic they are. That's just a very tough shot to make. And they didn't make enough of them on Wednesday.
Clifford Omori was plus 25 in 25 minutes. 11 points, 5 rebounds, blocked 2 shots, and altered many, many more.
The highest figure in the game.
Yes. So, Adam, it's an odd place to be because obviously Carolina has not played as well as it would like and has taken more losses than it would like. I'm not so sure, though, that once Carolina gets into conference play, I still think the Tar Heels are, at this moment, you can make the argument that they're still heavily involved for one of the top 4 teams in the league. Because I do think, as we've seen from the ACC, I don't think the league is great. I think there will be plenty of opportunities to accrue wins in conference play. Clearly, the Tar Heels need to improve. But they aren't going to be playing the level of competition that they have played in the last 4 games, night in and night out. That's just the truth. And so it doesn't feel good right now, but the season is not lost in any way for the Tar Heels. If Carolina is sitting at 12-12 or something on February 4th, then I think there's reason to be concerned. But right now, there's still a long way to go.
To get through that long way, you've got a critical rest of December.
Oh, yeah. These next 5 games are really important. Georgia Tech on Saturday, 2 o'clock. Then LaSalle on December 14th. 2 games the week before Christmas that are going to be huge. Florida in Charlotte and UCLA in New York. And then a game against Campbell between the Christmas and New Year break that you would figure Carolina would be heavily favored. 5-0 would be very good in those 5 games, and it feels like you could use it.
As you said, I've seen nothing that makes me believe Carolina's not one of the 4 best teams in the ACC. But if you think that's going to matter a whole lot on Selection Sunday, you need to watch some of the college football playoff discussions, because that's exactly how it's going to go with basketball. So you need to not be in the top 4 or 5. you need to be in, at minimum, the top 2 or 3. At minimum. And probably have a win or two outside the league that you can point to and say, see, we didn't just do this against the ACC.
Right. Adam, anything else?
No, that was about as real as it gets.